My husband moaned her name during sex, but I planned a quiet revenge destroyed his lies. I had never heard his voice shake like that. We were close and breathless, and the room was small with our bodies. He moaned, low and raw, and it was not my name. It sounded like a name I did not know, easy and soft. Anna. My heart stopped. Heat and cold ran through me. He kept moving as if nothing had happened. I pushed him away with both hands. He blinked and tried to smile, like a man repairing a broken glass. I sat up and wrapped my knees to my chest. The room smelled like our perfume and a lie. I asked him, voice thin and shaking, "Who's Anna?" He stared at the ceiling and did not answer. He whispered, "It was nothing." I listened to that word like a bell. I could not stop. I wanted to shout. I stayed very still instead, watching him pretend the moment had never happened. If you want more, hit subscribe for more true revenge stories. He laughed when I asked. He said it was a silly sound, just a fantasy. He held me like nothing had broken. I lay awake that night and stared at the ceiling while his breathing came and went. His words kept repeating, "You're overthinking." His phone was on the nightstand, dark and heavy. In the dark, I thought of the name Anna again and felt the same cold. I wanted proof. I wanted it to be only my fear. I did not sleep. I listened for sounds. At 2 in the morning, his phone buzzed and the screen lit. I turned my head and saw a message appear. The short note read, "Good night, Red Heart, A." My breath caught. He did not wake. He rolled over toward me and kissed my forehead, eyes closed. I stared at his face like someone seeing a stranger. Tears came then, not loud and wild, but slow and bitter. I pressed my hands to my mouth and swallowed them down. I took a long shower the next morning and stood under hot water until I felt numb. The mirror fogged and I watched my face like it belonged to someone else. I mouthed Anna and saw the name vanish in steam. I remembered when he said Anna was a colleague from 6 months ago. He had told me simple things then, small untrue facts that stacked into a lie. I felt invisible on the day we did small errands. He hurried away with his coat and kissed my cheek like a man who had no secrets. I sat on the couch and tried to read, but the words blurred. Friends asked if I was okay, and I lied that I was. I kept seeing the beach photos in my mind from dates he had claimed were work. The idea that he hated beaches sat like a stone in my throat. The warmth of the shower could not reach where the hurt lived. I said her name again, hoping for answers. One night while he slept, I opened his tablet. My hands shook. I knew I risked everything, but I wanted to see. The chat thread was there, named with a little sun emoji. Jokes, nicknames, photos of them smiling in a hotel lobby. The messages were casual and warm. I read one that said, "It felt wrong, but so right." I felt my stomach drop like I had been punched. I scrolled slower, saving screenshots. I found photos of them holding hands on a balcony, a close selfie of his face next to hers. I found a message about a weekend conference that matched those beach pictures. I froze when I saw a voice note. I played it and heard him laugh and whisper a name I did not want to hear. The tablet hummed, and his chest rose and fell beside me. I closed the screen and slid the tablet back on the nightstand. I lay awake and thought of that voice note until dawn. I replayed that weekend in my head like a broken tape. He had said he hated beaches, yet Anna's feed showed sand and sun those dates. I kept the tablet tucked under a stack of shirts. But memory grew sharp and loud. A friend, Maya, came by that week with a nervous look. She held my hands and told me she had seen them at a hotel months ago. She said she did not know how to tell me. I felt the floor tilt. Maya said he told Anna we were separated. The words cut like glass. I listened to her tell small details I'd never known. She described a laugh I knew, the way he held his drink, the scent of his cologne on Anna's scarf. I felt betrayed not only by him, but by a life I had believed in. I kept my voice quiet and asked more questions. Maya cried and hugged me. I hugged back and felt the plan form in my chest. The next morning I made coffee and pretended nothing was wrong. My hand shook only once when I lifted the mug. I asked him about his day, and he smiled like a man with no guilt. Maya's warning replayed in my head. She had seen them at a hotel, his arm around Anna, his voice soft in ways he never used with me anymore. "He said you were separated," she whispered. Those words stayed in my ears all night. I thought of the lies he told, and the lies I believed. I walked around our home and touched things we bought together, wondering which memories were real. When he kissed my cheek before leaving for work, I did not move. He didn't notice. He never noticed. I sat at the table long after he left, staring at the door. The truth pressed heavy on my chest. Something inside me cracked, not loud, but deep. I whispered to myself, "So, this is what betrayal feels like." I woke early and forced myself to smile through breakfast. He talked about meetings and plans while I nodded at the right times. I studied him the way someone studies a mask, smooth and practiced. He did not notice my silence. He never asked why my eyes looked different. That was when I understood how invisible I had become in my own home. When he kissed my forehead, I felt nothing. I decided then to stop asking questions. I would gather proof, not tears. I downloaded a recording app to my phone and placed it in my pocket. I spent the day moving lightly, listening, noting his habits, his times, his words. Each small thing became part of a bigger picture. He called Anna twice that afternoon. I recorded every sound. By evening, I had hours of little truths. He walked in the door tired and happy, unaware that everything he said was being saved. I smiled at him calmly, quietly. My heart had already changed. That night, I found a flash drive in his jacket pocket. It slipped out when I lifted the coat to hang it. A small black drive, harmless looking. I held it like it might burn me. While he showered, I plugged it into my laptop. Folders opened fast. Contracts, travel reports, photos from trips he never told me about. Then I saw a folder named Personal. My fingers felt cold as I clicked it. Inside were videos. The first one showed him and Anna in a hotel room, laughing, kissing, moving the way he used to move with me. My breath tightened. I watched only a few seconds and stopped. I backed up every file to my own drive and tucked his back where I found it. When he came out of the shower, he kissed my neck. I did not flinch. I only thought of the video and the way he touched her shoulder. I sat in bed later, lights off, listening to the rain. My heart felt made of stone. I didn't cry. That surprised me. I sat in the dark, the flash drive hidden in my drawer, and listened to the storm outside. The rain pattered against the windows like soft taps on a drum. My chest felt quiet. Too quiet. I whispered into the darkness. "You moaned her name. Now you'll remember mine." The words came smooth and cold. I thought of every file, every message, every secret he tried to hide. I wanted justice, not anger. I wanted silence sharp enough to cut. He slept soundly beside me, breathing deep, his arm across my waist as if to claim me. I stared at the ceiling and counted the seconds until morning. There was no turning back now. I pictured a path forming, step by step, a plan made from hurt and truth. I breathed slowly and let the calm settle into me like armor. This was the moment my heart turned from breaking to becoming something powerful. The next day I left him a note. "Visiting family. Back soon." He didn't question it. He never looked past his own comfort. I packed a small bag and drove across town, not to family, but to a quiet building with empty offices for rent. I chose a small room with plain walls, paid for it under a different name, and locked the door behind me. The air smelled of dust and new beginnings. I set up my laptop, placed the flash drive beside it, and stared at both. My hands did not shake anymore. I wrote lists, names, dates, passwords, lies. I circled his company name again and again. I knew how much he valued his image. I knew what the truth could do. In that room, with nothing but a desk and determination, I began planning. Each step grew clearer, calmer. I whispered, "You will not see me coming." And for the first time since hearing Anna's name, I felt steady. I knew his company cared more about image than truth. That made it easy. In my rented office, I opened their website and read their proud lines about honesty and strong values. I almost laughed. He was one of their rising executives, always praised, always trusted. I dialed the HR number with a soft voice and said I wanted to stay anonymous. I told him a few details, his travel dates, the reports that didn't match, the hotel charges that should not exist. I kept my voice steady. When the woman asked for proof, I said, "Check his records. You'll see." And I hung up. My heart beat fast, but not from fear. It felt like the first real step. Hours later, he texted me, saying work felt weird today. I typed back sweet messages, hiding my calm smile. He had no idea the ground under him had just shifted. I whispered into the empty room, "You wanted secrets? Now we use them." He came home looking tense. I watched him try to hide it as he talked about strange questions from the office. He said someone was checking his travel reports. I pretended to worry and touched his arm. Inside, I felt cold focus. By nightfall, he paced the living room, mumbling about mistakes he never made. He didn't know the investigation had already begun. I listened from the bedroom doorway and recorded every word. He claimed the company was confused, that someone must be after him. He even suggested someone disliked his success. Not once did he think of me. Not once did he imagine the cracks came from inside his own home. Later, he kissed me goodnight. His lips trembled. I lay awake beside him, counting the seconds between his sighs, wondering when he would start to unravel. Quiet revenge moved slowly, like water sinking into stone. It changed everything without raising its voice. The next morning, while he rushed to work, I checked Anna's social media. She had posted a picture of herself smiling with a caption, "Finally free." My stomach turned. On the table next to her hand was his watch, the one I had given him for his last birthday. I zoomed in. There was no doubt. The same scratch across the side, the same dark band. He had told me he lost it last month. I stared at the photo until my eyes blurred. The truth felt sharp again. He had not lost anything. He only passed pieces of our life to someone else. I saved the photo and placed it with the other files. Another piece of the puzzle. Another string to pull. He texted me from work saying he might be late. I wrote back a heart emoji. He sent one too. I wondered if he sent the same one to her. I guessed he did. My calm deepened as the plan grew. I wanted to understand her. I wanted to know if she was a victim or a partner in the lie. So I arranged a meeting. I wrote to her pretending to seek help on a project she cared about. She agreed quickly, maybe too quickly. We met at a quiet cafe. She came dressed like she wanted to impress someone. When she saw me, her smile faded a little. I introduced myself as Susan. She sat straighter. I asked simple questions, letting her talk. She seemed proud, almost smug. Then she said it. "He told me you were just a roommate." The words stung, but I kept my face still. She didn't understand yet who I was. I reached into my bag and slid the USB drive across the table. "Watch it," I said softly. "Then decide who he really lied to." Her face changed as she looked at the label. Her confidence cracked. She whispered, "What's on this?" I stood and left her with the truth. She called early the next morning. Her voice shook. "He lied to me," she said. "He lied to both of us." I listened, letting silence fill the line. She told me she had watched the video, the messages, the photos. She cried once, then stopped herself. She said she wanted to help expose him. I told her I didn't want chaos. I wanted clean truth. She agreed. We formed a quiet pact, no shouting, no strange drama, no warnings. Only facts. Only timing. She sent me screenshots I had never seen, messages where he promised her a future while holding mine. I saved everything. My rented office grew into a nest of quiet weapons. Before we hung up, she whispered, "He played us both." I answered, "Yes. But he won't play us again." When I ended the call, I didn't feel anger. I felt control. A slow, steady, heavy control. And I knew he had no idea what waited for him. Anna called again in the afternoon. Her voice was clearer, steadier. "If we do this, we do it without rage," she said. "Only truth." I agreed. Rage was loud. Truth was sharper. We shared timelines, messages, hotel dates, travel slips, everything he thought he had hidden. I arranged the files by month, then by lie. The picture of his double life grew clearer. He had promised me stability, promised her excitement, and lived in between our worlds like a ghost wearing two faces. Anna said she wanted him exposed, not ruined. I did not correct her. My goals were different. When we ended the call, I sat in my tiny rented office and stared at the folder. His secrets filled the room like smoke. I whispered his name once, testing the weight of it. It felt lighter now, smaller. Soon it would mean nothing at all. Before leaving, I locked the door and placed the USB drives in a safe box. Quiet Truth was ready. The lawyer I met sat behind a clean desk and listened carefully as I spilled out pieces of my story. She asked for files, and I handed her the copies, every screenshot, every email, every video. She looked through them slowly, her eyebrows lifting once. "If you time this right," she said, "you'll own everything he values." Her words sank into me like cold water. She showed me the prenup he had insisted on years ago. I had never thought it mattered. But now it mattered more than anything. If he was found guilty of infidelity, his assets shifted. The lawyer tapped the date of his company's board review next week. "That's when you strike," she said. I nodded, feeling the plan tighten into shape. Before leaving, she placed a hand on the copies. "You're not acting in anger. You're acting in truth." I walked out into the sunlight feeling taller, steadier. He had no idea the countdown had begun. When I returned home that evening, I acted warm. I kissed his cheek, asked about his day, cooked his favorite dinner. He relaxed, believing the storm at work had passed. He never noticed the way I watched him, not with love, but with study. While he washed dishes, I glanced at his phone where it lay unlocked on the counter. His company passcode appeared in a small autofill window. I memorized it with one look. He walked behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. I forced a soft smile. Inside, I felt nothing. When he talked about a possible promotion, I listened with a stillness he mistook for support. He did not know I had already built the truth waiting to strike. Later that night, when he fell asleep, I whispered into the dark, "Enjoy this calm." It was the last quiet night he would ever have. I returned to the office early the next morning. Using the passcode from his phone, I accessed his company portal. My hands didn't shake. I uploaded every file, receipts, messages, videos, dates, into the board's anonymous inbox. I wrote no explanations. I simply titled the email, "The Truth About Your Golden Boy." Then I watched the progress bar fill. When it finished, I sat back in my chair and let the quiet settle. There was no rush of victory, only steady purpose. I logged out, removed any trace of my access, and stepped outside. The sun felt different that day, brighter in a way I had not felt in months. He texted me asking if I wanted dinner together that night. I wrote back, "Of course." I walked down the street feeling like a shadow slipping through light. The truth was moving now, and nothing could stop it. That night, he came home glowing. He said the promotion looked close, and the board seemed impressed with him. I nodded and poured wine. He talked about power, about success, about being admired. I studied his face and saw a man who never questioned his own lies. I raised my glass and toasted him. "You deserve everything coming," I murmured. He smiled proudly, not hearing the truth under the words. After dinner, he held me close. I let him. I had already left him in my heart. When he went to bed early, I stayed at the table, sipping the last drop of wine. By morning, his phone would explode with calls. By morning, he would begin to understand the shape of the silence I had built. I touched the rim of my glass and felt calm. The storm was ready. He woke before dawn, his phone lighting up again and again. He sat up fast, confusion turning to fear. "Why is my email locked?" he muttered. He scrolled through messages, his breathing sharp. 64 missed calls? His hands shook as he read a notice from the board. Mandatory ethics review. Attend immediately. He looked at me with wide eyes. "Susan, something's wrong." I sat up slowly, pretending surprise. He paced the room, mumbling about mistakes and jealous coworkers. I watched him crumble piece by piece. The man who had moaned another woman's name now trembled like a child who lost his way. He dressed in a rush, nearly dropping his keys. He kissed my cheek out of habit. I didn't return it. When the door closed, I exhaled softly. He still thought the storm came from outside. He still believed he was safe inside his lies. He had no idea the truth was already waiting in the boardroom. He stormed into the house that evening, face red, eyes wild. "Did you tell them something?" he shouted. "Someone betrayed me." I leaned against the counter, calm. "I didn't betray you," I said softly. "You did that for both of us." His breath hitched. He looked like he wanted to argue, but didn't know where to start. He threw papers on the table, emails, warnings, demands for explanations. Everything he had hidden was now laid out for others to see. "This could ruin me," he whispered. "Good," I said, and his head snapped up. "Good." I nodded. "You built everything on lies. Now you get to watch them fall." He accused me of being cruel. I only stared back, steady and quiet. Cruelty was what he had done. This was justice. He walked away shaking, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. I didn't move. Silence filled the room like a new kind of air. A clean one. By morning, screenshots of his affair spread online. Someone leaked them, maybe Anna, maybe someone at his firm. Either way, the story grew fast. Reporters posted captions calling him the executive with two lives. Photos of Anna's hand wearing his watch appeared next to pictures of him smiling with me at company events. The internet ate it up. Messages flooded my phone from friends asking if I was okay. A reporter approached me outside a grocery store. "Do you have a comment?" she asked. I kept my voice steady. No comment needed. That was all. My silence became its own statement. He tried calling me 5 times that day. I didn't answer once. Each missed call felt like a step toward freedom. At lunch, someone messaged me a link to a video where he tried to hide his face from cameras. The mighty man reduced to a shadow. I watched once, then closed the screen. His downfall had only begun. He was suspended by the firm before noon. Sponsors pulled away. A statement from the company said they were deeply disappointed. His photo, once used in glossy ads, was taken down. He tried calling Anna, but she had vanished, deleted every photo, every message. She erased him like he was never part of her world. He tried calling me again. I let the phone ring. By evening, he came home defeated. His clothes were wrinkled. His voice small. "Susan, please." I looked at him, but felt nothing. No love. No anger. Just clarity. "You made this bed," I said. "Lie in it." He whispered that he had nothing left. He was wrong. He still had the one thing I planned to take next, control over our life together. He went to the bedroom and closed the door. I stayed in the kitchen, fingers tapping the table in slow, calm rhythm. Justice was close now. Very close. For more intense revenge stories, hit subscribe. He returned home the next night to find silence waiting for him. Half the furniture was gone. My closet empty. The drawers clean. Only the soft echo of his footsteps filled the space. On the counter sat a single USB drive and a handwritten note. "Play me." I had taken everything that was mine. Every book, every shirt, every quiet moment I reclaimed from the life he ruined. He picked up the drive with shaking hands. His voice cracked as he called my name. I wasn't there. I sat in my rented office across town, watching the clock, imagining the moment he would finally see himself the way I saw him. Alone. Cornered. Exposed. He would expect anger. He would expect yelling. He never learned to fear silence. The drive held my voice, steady and cold. The truth was ready to cut. My revenge had only just begun. He pressed play. I knew exactly what he was hearing because I recorded every word myself. My voice came first, low and calm. "You moaned her name. Now hear mine in every headline." Then the screen filled with clips, his lies in his own words, his messages to Anna, the hotel videos, the travel reports that didn't match. I arranged each piece like a quiet knife. His own face appeared next, bragging to her about how easy I was to fool. Then images of his company ID, his false expense claims, every detail tied together in a clean chain of truth. No shouting. No rage. Just reality. I imagined him sinking onto the couch, gripping his hair, realizing how much evidence existed. I imagined the moment he understood. Anna knew everything too. I ended the video with my voice again. This is only the beginning. When the file ended, he was alone in that hollow room, and I was already setting the next trap. The next morning, my lawyer filed the divorce petition with every piece of evidence attached. Videos, messages, screenshots, timelines. The case was airtight. Infidelity meant everything shifted to me under the prenup he once insisted on. His assets froze within 24 hours. Bank accounts, investment funds, even the car he loved more than honesty. He called repeatedly, voice cracking on every voicemail. "Susan, please. Don't do this. We can fix it." But he had already torn it apart. By noon, he drove to my rented office, pounding the locked door, begging me to talk. I sat inside without moving, listening to his voice fade into the hallway. When he finally left, I opened my laptop and checked the court portal. His world was shrinking fast. Mine was opening. I took a deep breath and whispered, "You built this cage." I only closed the door. His company board meeting took place 2 days later. He walked in believing he could charm them, but the truth waited on every screen. They reviewed his messages, the falsified travel reports, the affair videos, and his misuse of company funds. He tried to lie. He tried to blame others. None of it worked. By the end of the meeting, the board voted to remove him as director. He lost everything he had bragged about. According to our prenup, his stock options shifted to me. I checked the company directory that afternoon. His name had been removed. Mine replaced it. The moment felt unreal, quiet, calm, perfect. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I simply breathed. He built his life on shadows. I stepped into the light he tried to hide from me. His downfall was steady and clean, exactly the way justice should be. Headlines rolled across the internet like a tide he couldn't stop. CEO's affair scandal shakes industry. Executive lied about wife. Funds, travel. His picture appeared in every article, sometimes mid-scream, sometimes with his hand covering his face. People he once impressed now mocked him. The comments were brutal, cold jokes, sharp lines, endless threads. I read only 1 or 2. That was enough. My phone buzzed with friends offering support. I replied to only a few. I did not want pity. I already had power. Reporters began calling me again, but I stayed silent. The truth was already loud. I didn't need to speak. That evening, I walked to my window and looked out at the city. I felt something I had forgotten, space inside my chest, room to breathe again. And still, the final pieces of revenge had not landed. They were coming. Anna broke her silence next. She posted an open letter online titled, "He used me, too." It spread fast. She talked about his lies, the promises he never kept, the way he played both sides. She didn't mention my name, but she didn't have to. Everyone already knew. People turned completely against him. In the comments, strangers called him selfish, manipulative, cruel. Anna attached the photo of his watch on her table and wrote, "He said his wife would never know." She ended with, "We both deserved better." For the first time, I felt a strange calm toward her, not friendship, not trust, but recognition. We had been 2 mirrors he used to admire himself. Now those mirrors were cracking around him. When he tried calling her, she blocked him. When he tried messaging, she ignored him. His kingdom of lies was empty. And he finally felt the loneliness he created. Investors reached out to me through my lawyer. They had watched the scandal unfold and wanted someone steady to lead a new venture. They said my silence showed strength, not fear. I met them in a tall office downtown, the kind with bright glass walls and soft carpet. They asked me questions, and I answered with calm I didn't know I had. When they offered me the position, I signed under my own name, Susan Hale, the name he once mocked for being too quiet. Quiet was power now. They handed me documents, keys, and trust. I left that meeting with a new path stretched out in front of me. A path he could never follow. On my drive home, I passed the cafe where he used to brag about his future. I didn't stop. I didn't need to. My future had already begun. His future was a shrinking room with closed windows. He tried calling again that night. I watched the screen light up, his name shaking across it. I let it ring. Silence became my shield. Every time I didn't answer, I felt the distance grow stronger, like a wall he could not climb. He left long voicemails about heartbreak, misunderstandings, how he never meant to hurt me. I deleted each one. I owed him nothing. He once said I was too quiet. Now quiet was undoing him. He spiraled quickly, messaging my friends, sending long emails to my lawyer, even asking my mother to talk to me. She didn't. She said, let her heal. He grew paranoid, convinced I was behind every new problem he faced. But the truth was simple. I was not doing anything. The consequences were doing everything. I sat in my new office and looked at the city lights. My silence was louder than his begging. One night, I found an old photo of us in a drawer, my head on his shoulder, his smile wide like he truly loved me. I waited to feel something. I felt nothing. Not sadness. Not anger. Not longing. The woman in the picture looked soft, hopeful, unguarded. She no longer existed. I had become someone else, someone sharper, steadier, stronger. I deleted every picture, every message, every saved memory. I blocked his number. The screen went blank, and I felt lighter. I closed my eyes and let the quiet fill me. Healing wasn't loud. It wasn't fireworks. It was the moment I realized I didn't need to carry him anymore. I whispered to the empty room, goodbye, not as a wish, but as a truth. And for the first time, I felt free from the weight of his lies. The award came on a Thursday, a recognition for corporate integrity. They said my leadership through difficult personal events showed strength. I stood on stage under warm lights, holding a silver plaque. People clapped, smiling with respect instead of pity. For a second, I felt a rush of pride, not loud or wild, but deep and steady. When I gave my speech, I ended with a single line. Truth always whispers louder than lies. The room fell silent, then filled with applause. I saw faces nodding with understanding. Not one person mentioned him. Not one person asked about the scandal. My life was no longer tied to his mistakes. I left the building with the award tucked under my arm, feeling like I had stepped into my real life at last. I breathed in cool evening air and felt it sit gently on my skin, like peace. Months passed before I saw him again. I was getting coffee, waiting for my order, when someone said my name softly. I turned and saw him. He looked older, his shoulders slumped, his eyes tired, his confidence gone. He held his cup with both hands like he needed help keeping it steady. Susan, he whispered, I'm sorry. I studied his face and saw no power left, only regret. I'm sorry too, I said. His eyes brightened for a second, hope cracking through. Then I finished. For believing you. His face fell. The barista called my name, and I took my drink. He reached out as if to stop me, but his hand dropped halfway. I walked past him without another word. Outside, sunlight warmed my face. I didn't look back. Not even once. I wanted to build something that mattered, something bigger than the pain he left behind. So I created a mentorship program for women rebuilding after betrayal, women who had been lied to, used, ignored, or erased. I named it The Quiet Rise. The name felt right. Strength didn't need shouting. We met in small groups at first, sitting in circles with notebooks and tea. Some cried. Some couldn't speak. Some were angry. I listened to every story. I taught them what I had learned. Truth was a tool, silence was a shield, and boundaries were not cruelty, but survival. Watching them grow gave me something I didn't expect. Hope. Real hope. One woman hugged me after a session and whispered, "You saved me." I shook my head.
No, I said.
You saved yourself. I just showed you where the door was. The room felt full, bright, alive. I walked out knowing I had finally built a life from strength, not pain. A journalist reached out to interview me about the program. She asked gentle questions: how I stayed calm, how I rebuilt, why I remained silent while the world buzzed with noise. I thought for a moment before answering. Because silence terrifies men who live on noise, I said. She blinked, surprised, then wrote it down. We talked about truth, betrayal, and how women learn to carry themselves after heartbreak. I didn't mention his name once. He didn't deserve space in the story of my rise. When the article published, readers sent messages saying the line about silence struck them deeply. Some said it helped them leave a toxic partner. Others said it made them rethink their worth. I read each message slowly, feeling a warm, steady pride fill my chest. My voice, once small and quiet, had become something strong enough to guide others. And I never had to raise it. One afternoon, I opened the last remaining folder of evidence, the videos, the messages, the screenshots. They no longer felt sharp. They felt distant, like artifacts from a life I no longer lived. I clicked through them one final time to be sure I felt nothing, and I didn't. The hurt was gone. Only knowledge remained. I dragged the folder to the trash. The computer asked if I was sure. I whispered, yes. It served its purpose. The screen blinked and the files vanished. I sat back and inhaled deeply. Closure wasn't dramatic. It wasn't fire or breaking or screaming. It was quiet. A soft end. I folded the laptop shut and felt something inside me settle. The evidence had helped me rise, but I didn't need it anymore. I didn't need him, or his lies, or the shadow he left behind. I finally stepped out of everything he ever touched. My life grew lighter in ways I didn't expect. I bought a small apartment overlooking the city skyline. Wide windows, warm floors, sunlight stretching across every corner. It felt like a home built from new breath. I filled it with plants, soft blankets, and books I loved. No ghosts. No lies. No shadows. I stood on the balcony the first night, watching cars move like tiny lights below. A cool breeze brushed past my face, as if the world itself exhaled beside me. I whispered one word into the open air. Freedom. It felt clean in my mouth, like water. My phone buzzed with messages from the women in the quiet rise, sending updates about their new jobs, new homes, new confidence. I replied to each one with gentle pride. My life was simple again, full in a new way, and quiet. Beautifully, powerfully quiet. I walked through my apartment one evening, thinking about everything that had led me here. The lies, the silence, the fall, the rise. I didn't break him with shouting. I didn't burn down his life with fury. I simply held up a mirror and let him see what he had made. My revenge wasn't noise. It was truth. And truth didn't need volume. It only needed time. I sat by the window with a cup of tea, watching the city glow. My voice in the final video echoed in my memory. You moaned her name. I didn't scream. I simply built a silence loud enough to end you. And it had. Completely. I smiled, not with joy, not with triumph, but with peace. Real peace. My story wasn't about him anymore. It was about the woman I became. Strong. Steady. Free. The quiet rise was complete. Please follow for more great stories. Thank you for watching.